What's up guys, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. BrickLink announced today the continuation of the BrickLink Designer Program with Series 1. I'm sure you heard about the program previously and now you are wondering why this latest iteration is called Series 1, so let's start with a little history lesson. But a small disclaimer before that, all information shared here is based on the documentation and answers provided by the BrickLink team in advance. I strongly suggest to check the link in the description for the most up-to-date information. The first similar program was announced in 2018 and it was called the Eiffel Designer Program. It was launched to celebrate 60 years of the Lego brick, and designers had to submit their digital entries in BrickLink Studio. 16 finalists were selected, and at the end 13 designs were released. The next phase was the BrickLink Designer Program 2021 Invitational. As the name indicates, it was not based on submitted entries, but previous LEGO Ideas submissions that reached 10,000 votes successfully in the past, but were not selected to become a LEGO set. Originally, there were 32 projects nominated for vote in 3 rounds. 9 designs were selected for each round, but only the 5 first successfully funded sets were produced. And now comes Series 1, but why the name? The previous iterations are considered to be pilot ones, testing and fine-tuning the format, and this is the format the BrickLink team wants to sustain over time, with continuous evolution of course. Here is the timeline. The first stage starts today, the 9th of December, when the rules and all details are published, and you can start designing your sets. The second phase happens between the 1st and the 28th of February 2023, when the models can be submitted. Then the third phase is the voting period when BrickLink members can pick their favorite submissions. The results will influence the designs chosen but won't be the only selection criteria. The next phase in April and May is the design validation, and the winning designs will be announced late May 2023. Designers of the selected entries will have to work with BrickLink to prepare the designs for production. The designs are expected to be finalized by September 2023, but the crowdfunding phase only begins in February 2024 to be as close to the production window as possible. 2 sets per household can be pre-ordered, and all designs reaching 3,000 pre-orders will be produced. Each set will be produced in 20,000 samples maximum. Orders will be accepted only from the 31 countries where an online lego.com shop is present, and they will have free shipping. The last phase is the shipping of the sets, expected to happen in summer-fall 2024. This is the timeline of the first series. There are no fixed dates for the upcoming ones, but the plan is to accept submissions up to 3 times per year on a rolling basis, meaning that while the previous series sets are in production, submissions are already accepted for the next series. So, what are the major changes compared to the 2021 Invitational? First of all, Series 1 will be submission-based again. There are no invitations. All submissions have to be built using the BrickLink Studio application with instructions included, and they have to use a specific palette of elements that contains close to 9,000 part variations. This limitation is applied to ensure that the designers use only parts that will be available when the sets will be produced in the LEGO factory. Each model should contain at least 400 and no more than 4,000 parts. Sticker usage is also regulated. There's a detailed guideline available for the models. There will be up to 20,000 samples produced of each approved set compared to the 10,000 samples previously, and all 5 approved entries will be produced if they all reach the crowdfunding threshold of 3,000 pre-orders. In the Invitational, 9 sets were competing against each other and only the first 5 were produced. Designers will have a bigger responsibility this time to mature their designs. They have to follow properly the submission guidelines. There will be a review process before the crowdfunding, but with suggestions only that the designers have to follow themselves. The big gap between the announcement of the 5 sets and the beginning of the crowdfunding is intentional, to be as close as possible to the production window that had to be scheduled to fit in LEGO's own production plan. The team wanted to avoid the big time gap experienced during the 2021 Invitational that caused some challenges with the pre-orders, payments and deliveries. Pricing of the sets will be available before the crowdfunding begins. I'm sure some of you are still a bit confused. What is the practical difference between this program and LEGO Ideas? Well, LEGO Ideas is really looking for ideas and not finished designs. There's a team of designers at LEGO who take the winning ideas and transform them to a set according to a whole bunch of rules and requirements. In BDP, the BrickLink Designer Program, the aim is to provide Eiffel designers the opportunity to have their designs produced according to their own ideas, vision and execution. This also means that the audience of these sets are also AFOs who understand the difference and who are ready for the possibly challenging builds. Designs that were previously submitted to LEGO Ideas but were not produced as a set can be submitted to BDP, but they need to be adjusted to comply with the rules for the limited part selection and need to be designed in studio with instructions. I asked the team about designs that are already sold on sites like rebrickable.com. It is possible to submit these if they are adjusted according to the requirements, but once they are submitted, you need to stop selling the designs. But, and I think this is a fair point, there's a rather short window between the submission in February and the announcement of the selected designs in May. If your design is not selected for the crowdfunding, then you are free to continue selling the instructions again. Talking about the money, designers will receive 5% of the net sales price of the sets. The sets will have the BrickLink branding emphasized, but with the LEGO logo still on the box, something similar to the previous ones with the name or the BrickLink ID of the designer indicated. So, that's all the information I could gather. I know it's a lot to digest. I really suggest to check the official announcement and all the published documents. There's a webinar planned for the 14th of December about the submission guidelines. If you are interested, then I really suggest to attend that one. I think it's a great opportunity if you already have experience with digital design and studio, but since there are still almost 2 months until the beginning of the submission period, it is not too late to learn the usage of the app if you have a model that you want to rebuild digitally. The changes compared to the previous programs make sense to me, and it is nice to see a new type of opportunity besides LEGO Ideas where fan designs can be produced and bought in greater volumes, especially considering the fact that designs here will be as close to the vision of the AFO designer as possible. There are services already like MockHub or Build-A-Mock where designers can sell their custom builds in a single kit, but this opportunity from BrickLink and LEGO feels to be more official, of course. I still don't think this initiative will harm those services, or Rebrickable for example, quite the opposite actually. If this program becomes regular, then we might see a boost of high-quality digital designs being produced with instructions, and there will be a lot of them not selected for production. What do you think? Will people be patient and try to resubmit their ideas to BDP again and again, or will they turn to Rebrickable to sell the instructions as an obvious choice, or maybe try to sell kits through MockHub and the others? Or, and that's an interesting option, will alternative building block companies approach them and try to turn their designs into non-LEGO sets? It will be definitely interesting to see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, folks. What do you think about the new program? Are you planning to participate? Let's talk about it. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time. Bye bye.